Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday Forum. We're so glad you're here. I am Jane Cole. I'm with the Sunday Forum Committee and also a member of Plymouth, of course. And I'd like to wish you a happy Halloween. Today we have Jean Thomson and Ryan French representing our Plymouth Stewardship Committee. And they are going to tell us about their plan coming up for the pledge campaign and about the philanthropy of the church. If just a couple of tech questions, if you want and have any tech problem, use chat to send that through chat. And questions for the speakers, use the Q&A or raise your hand. So I'll turn it over to Jean and Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. I also want to introduce Rick Neville, Heidi McAllister, and Ann Buren, who with Ryan and me are members of the Stewardship Committee, and we're very happy to be with you this morning. Thank you so much. I'll just say a few words about my background. Ryan and I figured out we do a good job covering the age spectrum of the church. I grew up in the church, and maybe my claim to fame is that in my confirmation class were John Humphrey, a very well-known figure in the church, whose daughter is Nina Johnson, and also Gary Ryerson, who became a minister in our church. So I go that far back. Ryan brings us forward. And I want to introduce Ryan, and he can say a few words about himself.
Thanks, Jean, and thanks everyone for joining us today. I am thrilled to be a part of this committee. It's a little bit of the, as I say, the busman's holiday. I spend my days working in the philanthropy world, and I'm pleased to be able to bring some of that to Plymouth Church, which is something very dear to our family's heart. Many of you probably know my wife, Jenny French, more than you might know me, as she's been soloing with the choir for a number of years now. You may also know we have two little kids, Tilda and Margot, who are active in the youth program, perhaps background right now in the library also. But we're thrilled to be a part of the community here at Plymouth, and I'm excited to be one of the co-chairs of our Stewardship Committee and tell you a little bit more about the campaign. So if you bear with me, I'm going to share my screen here. And we have a few slides and some videos we want to walk you through. But before we do that, I wanted to talk just a little bit in general about philanthropy. And I do this, you know, I mentioned I spend my days at the University of St. Thomas working on philanthropy in a leadership role there, leading our campaign and a number of other things. And I've really grown to think about philanthropy starting way back with the definition, if you will, of it. And this is a crowd I think that might like a little Greek once in a while. So when you really think about it, the word philanthropy is what we're talking about here. It's about love of humankind. And if anything resonates with the work we do here at Plymouth, it is the love of humankind. In fact, philanthropy really, translates into that desire to promote the welfare among others. Putting aside the dollar part of it, everything we do here at Plymouth is about the welfare of others. It's about our own internal community and how we work with the external community and really bridge those gaps. But we are here to talk about the philanthropic side, a more modern definition of the dollar support that go into this. But what you're going to hear us talk about more today is actually impact, what the dollars fund. We could sit here and talk and add up the dollars all day and look at the proverbial thermometer going up, and that is fantastic, and we know that is the fuel. But really, it's about what we do with the dollars, and that's what we're going to talk about. But not just the panelists here, but we've connected with members of the community to have them tell the stories themselves. So I'm going to share a few what we're calling vignettes, so you can see what the impact really is of your philanthropic gifts in the past.
Community is about the feeling of inclusion, safety, connection, love, strength. And when we feel that, then we realize that there's some kind of bond. We needed to find a way to invite people who felt like they were ready to come together. hence the tent, a place where we could just all fit. And everyone was welcome. We could have our children all around us, you know, chalking the parking lot or playing tag. I mean, it just that we could be together. We've made a really good and powerful statement by being on this corner, by having this tent up all summer long. It's an invitation, and I think it's a meaningful one. The technology that we've needed to employ and use and invest in to create and cultivate community in this time when we can't be together is pricey. And the only reason that we could do that is because of people's generosity to Plymouth. People are being encouraged by what they hear and see and experience. And for that, I just say thank you.
Well, talk about impact. We are so grateful for all of you who have supported the church over the past years, over the past decades, and continue. Your generosity is what fuels the investment in the tent, the redefinition of community over these past couple of years that have been something none of us anticipated. I thought I'd open it up to some of our fellow Stewardship Committee members to see if they have anything else they'd like to add to this. I think Ann Buren, you might be first to join us.
Well, I was at 10,000 Things production last night in Guildhall, and that's a wonderful professional troupe of players, and they did a Shakespeare comedy, Comedy of Errors. But what I wanted to say was it was the only place that they could perform that was open, and COVID would address the issues involved with COVID. And it was marvelous, just marvelous. And so that's the kind of bringing together I think we have at Plymouth, and we're able to continue because of people who know how important it is of being together, belonging, and support the efforts of the church to provide these spaces.
I will just add that Ann and I attended several musical performances this summer under the tent, and it was so fabulous. It felt like a neighborhood gathering.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what that tent meant to me, is that we became neighbors together. People came from other places, not just from church membership. That tent meant a lot.
Right. And I would just add that, when as a church, I don't know that we ever envisioned a time when we would need a tent in our parking lot. And we certainly had no idea that a pandemic would be, would happen. And so the fact that we had generous giving allowed us to provide this tent, which was a big expense that we had not budgeted for, we had not foreseen. But because we had those dollars in reserve, we could respond to that need and continue just the real vital programming, the worship, and all of the activities, including all the camps this summer for the kids, has just been really fabulous. So without those dollars, we wouldn't have had the tent, and we would have missed out on a great opportunity to be together.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing your thoughts on that. When we think about philanthropy at Plymouth, and I'm going to keep using that philanthropy term. I like it. There's something about it. It's really more than just the giving campaign we're talking about today. It really is a broad program across so many areas where your generosity is felt. We have our Sunday collections, which used to be a plate passed, and even in the past couple of years has become more online and text to give donations. We have unsolicited contributions, things that come in through the mail without anyone asking, or again, online. Someone might just be thinking about Plymouth, or leave a concert on a Tuesday night, go home and wake up the next morning and click the link. So continue doing that, please. We also, of course, have our special Christmas and Easter offerings, and special campaigns such as the effort to build the solar panels or the capital campaigns we've done in the past. Of course, we have our legacy and planned giving efforts. Many of you know the Flame Society. But what we're here to talk about today is the last bullet on this list, just saving it for last, is the annual giving campaign. And this really provides the foundation of all of the philanthropic support that does fuel our mission every year. So let's pivot right into that. And what are we really talking about this year for 2022? We have a lovely theme that I think really sets the tone that you're going to hear on and again, not just with the various pledge cards you see or emails you receive. You'll hear it in Dwayne's sermon today. We'll be talking about the theme of cultivate faith, nurture connection, and amplify love. This will be a persistent theme that resonates, that is very authentic to who we are. So consider this your inaugural hearing of those themes. They will continue. So why support Plymouth Church? And I think we all come to that conclusion from a different angle, from a different experience. It's generally pretty personal. And I would ask all of you, not just now, but in the future weeks, think about this. Think about why you contribute. Why does it feel so important to you? You know, sometimes it is sort of an annual habit. You get the pledge card in the mail, or you get talked to by a peer. And as we start worshiping in person, starting next week, you might see someone in the hallway or in Guildhall and think, yes, I do need to give. That's a good reminder. Maybe it's even an arm twisting once in a while. But I'd like to see us really go beyond arm twisting and start thinking about it deeply. What is it that really at the deepness of our heart, what is that passion element? For my family, it's the music programming and the family programming. That is what brought us here. That's what keeps us here. It's really strong, but as we've gotten more engaged, we've then seen other ways we can connect. So what I like to think about is not just what I ought to do to give, but really at the deepest level, what's that passion that I would more than ought to, that I would love to. And I would encourage all of you to think about why you're giving and move a little further, a little closer to love to and your passion for what you feel the strongest in. And ought to is great, and we'll arm twist you, and we'll do that, but we would love for you to really have it resonate deeply and think about it at the deepest level. I think it's time to look at another vignette here. This one looks at the youth programming, and Heidi mentioned a little bit of this in her comment before, but take a look at the impact we've had here through the youth.
I think mostly when I think about community, it's very people-oriented. It's also very much a values proposition to me, about values that I hold dear, but also values that I want to learn more about, values that I hope continue to grow. I think community with kids, in my mind, is a little trickier. I'm also really sensitive to the fact that I can't make community for my kids, that they are making their own community. You know, we're not unlike other families. Distance learning was not a positive. There's only so much I think you can do as a parent to be that support system at some point. Anybody, kids or no, but you need people outside of your family to be there for you, to be a trusted person. For my 13-year-old, Plymouth has been kind of a lifesaver. Kids going through what normally is really challenging ages where your body and your mind are just going in all sorts of different places, and you compound that with a pandemic. And Plymouth has ended up being an important and special place because of that connection that they've made. Personally, as a parent, the biggest draw for me is the programming that's available, that's values-based for my kids and their ability to kind of grow in community here at Plymouth.
I love that at the end we reveal that that wonderful music underlay was from one of our own community members. It's just fantastic. I'd love to turn, Heidi, do you want to start off with just some reflections on what community has meant to the families?
Sure. I can say that the reason that I am sitting here and the reason that I am at Plymouth Church is because of the youth programming. That is what drew our family in. When we first visited Plymouth, we had a 2 and a 6-year-old, and we were really looking for a community to help raise them and nurture them and really help us support them through all of the difficult things that are going on in the world around them. We felt like as parents, we really needed some support in that. And we have found that in spades at Plymouth. I can say, especially during this year, when so many things were put on pause for our kids, school was put on pause, all of the all of the things that go with school, all of the activities, so many things were just cancel. And Plymouth was one of the places where I felt like they had a consistent place that continued to offer them opportunities to be with their friends, with their community, whether it was through camps, whether it was through, we did the Christmas program still, even though it had to be virtual, just the many, many ways that our staff supported our youth through this time was just fabulous. And it was really as a point of strength for us during this really difficult time of pandemic. And so just, without dollars to support our staff, that just wouldn't be possible. And I think just in talking with Nina, who, she works, does the work of about 3 people, but she was saying when she's been in conversation with other churches, even smaller in size, like where they have maybe 30 families and 60 children, they might have 5 full-time staff. We have 1.5 staff. So, just think about what we could do if we had extra budget to add extra staff to this programming. I mean, it would just help that really continue to blossom. And another thing that I think we do so well with youth programming is that we try to make it accessible to everyone. We don't want cost to be a barrier to anyone. So, when we offer a camp, it's a very affordable. I don't think anywhere else you can find a week's long camp for $30, which seems just really affordable. But what that means is that Plymouth eats a lot of that cost. And so that's where these stewardship dollars are just vital, is so that we can help provide those things.
Thank you, Heidi. So I think the question that really is, the next one I'd like to ask everybody is, and you might be thinking is, well, what is the urgency? Why now? I mean, we know we run an annual cycle of a budget and this fuels it, but if we're focusing on impact, what does this really mean? The past generosity of all of you have really fueled our mission, and we are so grateful for that. And it's funded the efforts and the activities that we've talked about, but it also, as Heidi was saying, helps us as we look at where we're going, where we're charting what are those opportunities for growth? Where are we going to emphasize things in the future? So that philanthropy is so key to fueling this future of ours. And I like to think of it more as seed planting, and those seeds will bloom. They'll bloom tomorrow. They'll bloom in the months to come. In some cases, we might be planting seeds that bloom a year or 2 from now, but we need to continue to tend this and to steward our resources as we do. So I'm just so grateful that all of you have continued to invest in Plymouth as you have, and we're hoping you'll join us in the future. And ultimately, why does this matter? It matters because it's who we are as a community. It's who we are as a community, internally, externally, how we're bridging our relationship with the community, with the various groups out there. And it's about lasting impact. And that's really ultimately what we're doing here. It's what we're doing to making meaningful and lasting impact. And I wanted to share one more vignette of what this means to our extended community, our extended family, if you will.
Community is pretty much all of us.
We got people from Ecuador, Honduras, Togo, Liberia, Egyptians, Ethiopia, Bosnia. We got some Russians.
The food shelf and the church, they're more than just an organization. They're like extended family. There's also empathy that starts developing. People get to know each other. They get to understand that not everybody is just like them. Not everybody thinks just like them. And we all grow.
Clients are also people who are coming back, giving back. In the morning before I even get to work, we got a lot of people here waiting to help me to put out the food so they can eat. You know, we couldn't open unless they would allow us to be here in this space here. And I think it has been a good partnership, actually, because we had to change from, at one time we were able to be outside, and then that changed.
In fact, that happened overnight.
Yeah.
Because we knew that we couldn't really give out of our existing location. It just wasn't big enough to have any social distancing and to really have people safe. Basically kept the church open for the food shelf and the school. The church arranged for a vaccination. I would guess 90% of our clients ended up getting vaccinated.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of those people, they might not have had IDs, and so if they don't get vaccinated, they can get sick, they can spread it, and we're pretty proud. We really haven't had any breakouts at all. It's very obvious that Plymouth feels responsible to share its gifts with the community. The assistance that Plymouth has given the food shelf over the years, it's helped us with money, it's helped us with space, it's helped us with encouragement, it's helped us during difficult periods. We are able to help feed thousands of people, and by extension, the congregants here are helping those people too. It makes it a better community, a better place for all of us because of that.
I'd like to invite Rick to share a few observations or thoughts on this work.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Wow, those are all three very powerful videos. So thanks to Chris Bonhoff and Cody. What a great resource you are for Plymouth. And that's a great media and a way to show our stewardship message. You know, I'm also struck by the irony that as politicians debate the level of a safety net, Groveland Food Shelf is just out there doing it and has been for many, many years. Also, it makes me think of all the other nonprofits that Plymouth has launched over the past 160 years. We've incubated or actively supported by our members. You know, Groveland is the obvious one, Beacon, Pillsbury United Community Center, Vocal Essence, One Village Partners, The Advocates, Drop-In Center, LZ School, and perhaps maybe the oldest one that we can be proud of is the Underground Railroad 160 years ago. But we may not know what that next cause or project is going to be for Plymouth. But we need to keep the incubator, which is Plymouth, strong. So it's ready to help, ready to support, ready to incubate that next nonprofit cause. That's what Plymouth members do with your support. That's why Jan and I support Plymouth, because of all the causes that Plymouth has incubated and supports over the years. So thanks for considering your stewardship donation.
Thank you
Rick.
so much, Rick. I think what I'm going to do now is to talk a little bit about some of the details of our campaign. We, in the fall of each calendar year, we enter annual giving with a pledge campaign. Our goal this year is 1.4 million. And the way that we can all participate, which is absolutely essential that we do, is to make a pledge commitment now and a plan to fulfill it. Because our calendar year is cyclical and we start in the fall, we like to have the pledges, the commitments made in the fall, and the plan for payment to be made in the fall. But payment can start anytime in 2022. The fulfillment plan can be, however, a gift that you might want to make immediately in this calendar year. If you do pay in installments over the next calendar year, the installments can be quarterly, monthly, or even weekly. Your pledge and your fulfillment plan can be made online or via paper. In fact, amazingly, my pledge paper form arrived in the mail yesterday, and I hope that's happening for everybody in our church. You may have received yours yesterday yourselves. To go online, if you wish to use the online feature, you can find the Donate tab right at the top of our homepage. Your fulfillment plan can be made at the same time as you commit to a pledge. It can be made online or by simply calling our church office and talking with Joy Hansen. You can use bank withdrawal or credit card withdrawal. You can use a check to put in surface mail. You can give through stock or an IRA. I want to say a big congratulations to the boards and committees of Plymouth, all of whom have started to make their pledge commitments and their payment plan. And I really thank all the boards for stepping right up. They're at the vanguard of our effort this year. However, I want to emphasize that the boards can't carry the whole pail, right? We all need to be part of our pledge campaign, our annual giving effort. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I want to say to any of the panelists, if you have concluding remarks, please say something now. Brian, do you have anything to say?
I just want to say one, thank you, Jean, for being an excellent partner in this. And thank you to the rest of our committee members, Ann and Rick and Heidi, for joining us today. And those who can't be here today, we all are here to answer individual questions if people want to talk to us afterwards, email or phone, happy to discuss with everyone. But our goal is to get our campaign wrapped up by the middle of December. You can see on screen by December 15th, we want to have those pledges in, and those who are so moved to make and pay off their pledge immediately can. You can make an outright gift if you're doing it for tax reasons in this current tax year. That's accepted, as Dean said, and we want to really have a good sense of where we're going over the next year.
Yeah, I would just add to quote Dwayne Davis, this is what it costs to be us. And 1.4 million is about where we've been. We'd like to do even more than that if we can. That's just less draw from the endowment, so we can do this in perpetuity. But this is what it costs to be us. So thank you for supporting.
That's a great line, Rick. If anybody has a question to enter into Q&A, we can do that, but I think we can conclude. Jane, do you close us out?
I will. Thanks so much, Jean and Ryan, for putting this together today. And let's hope for good success all along the way. Next week, we will still be virtual on Zoom. Dr. Michael Hartunian, who has taught for 30 years at the universities of Arizona, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, has his topic, Can People Govern Themselves? And I think it's a very apt question for our time right now. So I hope you'll tune in next week. We'll still be on Zoom at 10 o'clock. And hopefully we will be getting back into the church, but we're gonna ride along for a while here with being virtual. Thanks for coming today, and hope to see you next week too. Thanks, Jean and Ryan.
Thanks, Jane. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jane.